In the last video, we installed my brand new canopy camper, but what is the point of having a setup like this if you don't have a rear fit out to match? And there is really no time for messing around because in this video, I've got to do all the 12-volt wiring and install my battery system. I've then got to do my water tank, water lines, pump, and tank sender and hook that up to the battery system. And then obviously the most important part is all the cabinetry, the drawers and stuff like that that are going in here, which is going to turn it into a really fast challenge. But I think it's doable. So let's show you what the plan is for the setup. So starting the setup over on the passenger side, we're going to have my Energize battery system up against the wall like I did in my old fit outs. And then next to it is going to be the kitchen. The very front, that trapdoor you're seeing is going to be for the and then we're having a cutlery drawer, plates drawer. The plates drawer is going to be on hinges, a little bit different to a drawer, just like a little opening mail slot. Going down, there'll be a bunch of random drawers that are all specifically measured for different parts of our kitchen needs. And then on top, we're having our induction cooktop and potentially a sink. I've brought one. I don't know if it's going to fit, so we'll see how we go there. And then up against the back wall is where the 75-litre water tank will go, and that's going to be enclosed with wood and with a top and some hinges, so we have access to some extra storage back there and the pump if we need access to that. And then we are moving to the driver's side. A lot more simple. It is just a wooden box with a lid like a chest. And then in the front there is going to be our new dometic fridge, which is a small upright. And that is just one of our fridges. We're gonna have a freezer in the back of the car. And I'm not really too sure what we're gonna do for storage in there, but it's just gonna be a big chest where we can put all the stuff that we don't want floating around and to keep it nice and neat. And I have to make a little confession to you all. I have cheated a little bit. I made these CAD drawings probably like 4 or 5 months ago when I first came up with the idea to get the canopy camper, which means I had all the plans to send it off to someone to CNC cut it. So I did that, sent it down to Vass in WA, to Timber Grooves. I paid full price, not sponsored, just a good bloke, and he does cool stuff. And he cut the kitchen out for me out of some pretty cool materials just to make it easier. So I know I've got an exact fitment for what I can measure properly, but it's still gonna take a lot of cutting, trimming to get it in here perfectly because as you know, a tub is not a square or a rectangle. It has a lot of weird shapes, so nothing quite ever fits in perfectly. And for the materials we're using, we have 2 different versions because one of them is quite expensive. And that is your hex ply, which has laminate over the top, smooth on the back, which is for any front-facing panel except for the water tank covering. And all the other panels are just this laminated ply with like a matte instead of a gloss, which I think looks a bit nicer for rugged, tough stuff. And it's all really nice quality ply. It's gonna be super strong, but relatively light, I hope. I'll probably actually measure and weigh it all as we go through. So I know exactly how much weight I've put in there, but I can guarantee you, I don't know if you can see the old kitchen back there under there, that was MDF and that thing was, one drawer was weighing like 30, 40 kilos. So I'm sure this is going to be way, way lighter, even though it's a little bit more complex. But let's get straight into building. So what I'm thinking the way we're going to go about building this setup is first we're going to start at the front of the car, and that is with the water tank section. So I have my first panel here with the arches cut out, hopefully right. I measured this myself, so it could be terribly wrong. But the actual canopy itself has like a bit of a lip overhang, which I'm gonna have to cut the sides of this down on both sides, I think about 1 centimeter, but I'm gonna chuck it in there now so we can measure it up properly. And what I meant by the lip is this section here. So there's actually a lip here as well, but I'm hoping I'll just be able to notch it out a little bit so it sits flusher underneath this lip. But I definitely need to remove this section here, and then we'll see what we're gonna do for that one, just so it drops in and stands up vertically. So all I did was run a pencil line down the inside of that lip so I can trim this bit off. Excuse my janky table. So very typically, as I am now finally getting to put stuff in, hopefully, it starts raining. So my wood's probably gonna get a little bit wet, but I've got that veranda and I can also pop the tent up in here if I need to, and then I'll be able to move around a bit more freely. I need to open the other window. And now my problem is the second lip. All I'm gonna have to do is measure in that far. It's looking like about 1 centimeter. I'm only gonna cut it down the difference to the floor. So how far that is. I'm in no way a professional woodworker or even slightly skilled. So what you're about to see is a lot of DIY type stuff, probably done the wrong way. And because I'm not a professional, I never guarantee that my builds are going to be done properly. But what I can guarantee is that they will probably look pretty decent on the surface level. Underneath, maybe not so much. And now that I quickly cut that piece up, we have now dropped it in. The fitment is way better. And I'm not super happy with this bottom edge, but once I put the false floor in, that will butt up against it and give a nice straight edge instead of having all the holes through. And the arc radius was also wrong because it's not a perfect arch. It is like a rectangle with a fillet corner, which I should have thought of. And the water tank that I've been talking about is this one here, which kind of just floats there between the arches. Now that I've got the tub liner in, it does actually touch the ground, which is good because it will put less pressure on the wheel arches. It actually started rubbing through the metal on my old tub. So all I'm thinking to hold it in is going to be a like 40 centimeter long box that's just going to wrap around the water tank, and then the front panel will just, and then I'll screw it in from the inside. That will hold the front panel in place and the water tank somewhat in place as well. And now I just hope that it all goes together without any hiccups. I really don't know where the day is going because it is getting kind of dark, but I've got the thing figured out. I'm actually not going to worry about the straps just yet. I'm going to wait and see how it all fits in. And to make this even a little bit more fun, it is going to be raining for the next few days, so I have to do it all under the veranda here. So sorry if the colors look a little bit gross. And I'm just going to have to bounce in between the rain and stuff, so if it feels a little bit disjointed, sorry, but I will try and make it work. And now that we have the water tank in here, we have the lid panel, which will be hinged, but I just need to get it to fit first. It's looking like I'm gonna have to take 25 mil this way by 45 mil back towards here. So this will slide in because of these like little edges here. So I do need to do a little bit of trimming. I need to take a little bit off this edge and a bit off the inner on this side, and then we will be perfect. I just don't want anything filing down over time. Once again, I had to take the box out and it's just feeling a little bit flimsy. So I'm gonna add this strap now, and then I'm also gonna add the hinges. For the hinges we have, I don't know what they're called exactly, but they don't just like flip up and down. They're like the ones on kitchen doors that go up and out, so you get that clearance. And I know this strap thing is going to be a bit not the best, but it's better than nothing. I just spent a couple minutes drilling in the hinges, and now hopefully I did that all correct and what I thought would work will work. I haven't put all the screws in yet because I wanted to make sure that I did it right. So now we shall lift. Oh, stop it. Definitely gonna need something to rest it on, because if not, it's gonna go past. And I like it that it is a little bit tough. It will hold itself shut under the pressure more. So I'm definitely going to have to speed this section up because this is taking me way too long. But anyway, that is enough messing around. We get to get onto the kitchen part now. Here is the baseboard. These slots are for the dividing walls that all the shelves are gonna bolt to. Screw to is a better word. And here is one of those panels. And I love how at the beginning of this video I was talking about the rain was coming in, but the weather has turned on for me to get some of this moving. And yeah, this bit here kind of goes together a bit like Lego. The guy actually cut all my bits, so these joins, these ones that I'm pressing in here, only go together one way. So this side here might be like 30 mil down from the top, and then that one there will be 32. So if I do it the wrong way, the edges won't line up. So it's very obvious which way it goes together, which makes it way easier when I have so many parts. And honestly, once it's all screwed together, I might even jigsaw out some parts on the back just to cut down on weight a bit, because this one here, which is the front panel, which is my little secret panel I'm not going to tell you anything about until we're installing the thing, I think this weighs about 1.5 kilos, maybe 2 kilos. What I'm thinking is I should really cut sections out of this, because if this is 1.5 kilos and this is missing half of the mass, these panels here are going to be somewhat similar in weight. So that's going to be a good 4.5 kilos out of there, which might sound a little bit ridiculous, but then you times that to the bottom as well. That's about 8 kilos, but in a setup that's going to weigh about 100 kilos, that's close to 10% of the total weight of the fit out. And I'm not going tight with these cuts. I'm going to give it about an 8 centimeter gap around the border, which will still keep plenty of material there if I need to screw into anything. Oh, and in case I forget to mention in the future, the way that the drawers are laid out, just use your imagination. Cutlery, plates, pots and pans, 2 little drawers for random stuff. And then on this side, we're having our 2 pantry drawers. On the back panel, I'm actually not going to cut any holes because I would like to keep it as mouse proof as possible. They will hop into any little gaps. They will still obviously be able to come in and around, but I'm just going to try to reduce that risk by as much as I can. And after marking out all of the squares, which might be a bit hard for you to see on the camera, I'm going to go and drill through all the corners with a nice big drill bit. This one is really blunt, so I don't like my jam. now that we have that first panel cut out, I went and did some maths and cut out some triangles in the big backboard. But that means now I get to start assembling the whole thing. And so the plan now is to permanently fix all of these joints. I'm gonna do a bit of wood glue just down in there, and then we're gonna do 2 good screws through, pre-drill them so there's no splitting of the ply. This is the front panel, the one that I've not told you what it is for. And if you wanna have a guess what this panel is for right now, go drop a comment and we'll see if any of you are right. Just had my first real mistake of the video. I glued the edge that isn't touching anything. I needed to glue this edge and that edge. Really funny. So I did have a bit of a feeling that that was going way too smoothly. We just quickly dropped in the box that we have so far after finding one mistake. And then I was like, oh, we might as well chuck it in there, make sure everything fits all nice. And then I need to somehow shave off 8 centimeters worth of space in the tub, which is easier said than done. But I think it's just the tub liner is making the water tank a good 4 or 5 centimeters. That was a rather big mission. I had to cut out this much of the head of the tub liner, but now it fits in there perfectly. We've got it in there and we've test fit it again, which is lucky. I definitely did a little celebration dance. But now that's sorted, I can't actually do the front panel because I'm gonna have to get a part of it recut, which I could do myself, but because it is the front panel and it's gonna be seen, if I splinter it or if I have a little jagged edge or something, it doesn't line up flush, that is gonna annoy me for a long time. So Timber Groove's the one that helped me organize all this and did all the cutting, is gonna get a new one sorted. But now I'm getting onto the drawers. And as you can see, there's a lot going on and they go together pretty easily. So they do the same as the other thing with your little grooves, and then the base is just gonna glue and screw on. So I also really want to bring back this segment where I respond to some of the comments that you guys have left, because I do read literally every single comment that gets made on my YouTube videos, and I want you to all keep dropping them, especially if they're good questions or just funny comments. So this guy commented, just buy a troopy at this stage, which I 100% agree with. I would honestly love a troopy, but what I wouldn't love is spending over 100 grand on a car that doesn't have electric windows, has terrible fuel efficiency, obviously reliable, but so is this thing, terrible air conditioning, terrible road noise, you know, all the things that are kind of janky about those old new Toyotas. But yeah, a troopy really is a probably ideal fit out for what I do. But at the same time, I do not think I can really do anything different in a troopy because I feel like a lot of it's been done, but it is a part of my job. So if I'm not doing something different that I want to do, I'm not going to enjoy it. Box 1 done, comment 1 done. It just started raining, so now you're gonna have some ASMR in the background. The next comment is from Antics RD. I don't know how to say that. You can see it here. He said, love the content, mate. Interesting setup. How does it work when you got to get up in the middle of the night and your partner's asleep to go to the toilet, I'm assuming? I've had this comment so many times. And the way that I'm thinking I will get up and down if I do quickly need to hop out in the middle of the night is to just use the Mirac wheel holder thing, because that will be closed up against the tailgate. And then I have a step which sits here, and this whole window opens up, which we'll probably always have open anyway. So you step here and then down onto the checker plate and then hop off. It's quite easy. I tested it yesterday. And the next comment is from someone with a really funny name, Making Money 857. They said, trying to reinvent the wheel. There is a reason why 90% of tourers run an alley canopy setup. It's the best. I'm not gonna lie, I think you're very wrong. I think the reason that everyone runs an alley canopy is because it's what you expect to run in Australia. Don't get me wrong, the rubber seals are way better than anything you're ever going to get on like a tub, because you have to seal the tailgate. But I don't think that makes it the best, nor does having extra storage. Because the problem I try to solve is having somewhere be out of the elements for work and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think an aluminium tray and canopy does that. Tommy campers do that. But at the same time, why spend 40 grand on that when it's basically a caravan on the back of your car? They are very cool though, don't get me wrong. But I don't think that what I wanted is suited to a tray and canopy in any way, shape or form. But I think just doing the exact same thing everyone else always does is not good for me and not good for anyone. And it would honestly just be boring to watch. So I kind of just got through most of the boxes. I am on the final one, and I have one last comment from D-Stick 1 Spearfishing. And they say, really cool concept. What happened to the discussion about the pricing? Yes, in the last video, I was meant to talk about pricing, but I completely forgot because I was on a bit of a tight deadline getting everything done. So we can have that discussion now. The whole thing was imported from China, which I kind of alluded to, but I didn't say outright. It's just off Alibaba. A lot of people are gonna ask me for the supplier. I'm actually not gonna do that. And hear me out, why I'm not gonna do that is because if you get scammed, they take your money and run. There's no buyer protection, but I don't want to be recommending someone and then people getting scammed. So if you're gonna go and buy one online, you find your own supplier and you roll those dice, because I don't want anyone getting scammed. But now, onto the price. It is a pretty expensive exercise getting something this big from China, especially if you're just doing one. Whereas if you filled an entire shipping container, not so bad. For the actual product itself, it was like 5,700-ish Aussie dollars. And the shipping on top of that is another like 1,500-ish dollars. Bear in mind, I do have a shipping person that I use and I have a bit of rapport with, which brings the total to 7,200. Which for a one of one, it's just a sample, not like a mass production thing, is not too bad. Like if I was to order 10 of them, 20 of them, the discount on top of that would be huge. So you never know, if these videos keep doing well with the truck camper, maybe I'll get a few in and we can do a whole shipping container or something. So I quickly went and just laid out all the boxes so I can show you how it's kind of looking. So here's kind of the rough layout at the moment. 3 drawers, 2 big drawers, which are pantry space, cutlery drawer, which will be up the top here. So I'm just about to head out to Bunnings, but I do want to fix one thing in my canopy camper quickly, which I'll probably do off camera, but I'm just going to quickly tell you about it. Because I do not understand why the bed, if you can see it here, comes down flat. But when you pop it up, it only goes up like 45 degrees, but it can go all the way up to 90. So I want to get some bigger gas struts. So I just undid them both. So this is about the angle it sits on normally. But imagine all of that. Now I can come all the way over, get into the storage down here where the water tank is. It gives us an extra 50 centimeters of workable space. So I'm just going to measure that hypotenuse. Some trigonometry right there. And that will give me how long I need my gas strut to be when fully extended. So just got back from a quick Bunnings trip to get the sliders and the rest of the plywood. But I think I'm at a little bit of a standstill now until tomorrow when I get the new panels. So I thought it's time to have a little test fit with the fridge and start making the chest around it. I've also had this fridge sitting here now for 2 months and I opened it briefly, but I didn't really look at it. I just opened it to make sure it was the right one. So right now you're probably thinking 60-litre fridge and you're going on trips for 6 months at a time. That's not very big. Well, the idea is we also have a dometic 25 or 35 litre, I can't quite remember. And the idea is that one will stay the freezer. And then this one here is the fridge. Yeah, so you got 2 little veggie crispers down the bottom. Pretty big freezer, but realistically we'll probably just be taking this off and keeping it as extra fridge space. So with this setup, I always knew there would be one thing that might be not kind of great. This here is the front panel that the fridge would be getting cut out of. So now I have to see if I can get in. No, not really. It's not really in the right spot right now. There's like a big gap here. So it's a new day. I have gone and picked up my new panel. So that means by now I get to put the panel on, the front on, and then all the drawers, which is going to be a big job, but let's go. So it's finally starting to take shape. It's probably looking like nothing that's special, but this is where it looks really clean because we have the CNC base panels. And I think there is like a 2 mil gap around the whole thing. So it's going to be really flush, but it's also going to make the sliders really hard to attach and then make sure that these are sitting really, really nice. So there's one more little step I have to do before I can actually just get this thing going. And that is just cutting the like battens that go here to mount the sliders to, so that the sliders sit flush with this edge. So it just worked out flukishly well. I get to install the sliders with the bottom part of it just sitting above the base ply, and that gives me like a 2 mil gap at the bottom for it to miss the bottom, and then I still have like half a centimeter to a centimeter at the top. And then this is the really scary moment. Will the first drawer go in without a problem? I'm putting money on no, but let's see how we go. So I think there's a couple mistakes. First, I think I need to sand down the batten. I'm going to try and drop these forward of the drawer just a touch because the drawer's not quite going in further enough at the moment. So I've just gone and spent a bunch of time fidgeting around with it, and I really can't get it in properly without having to sand back the batten. It's just too squishy. We've just had a quick crack at sanding back that little bit of wood to go in there. Now hopefully this is a much nicer fit. Go on, straight back. So I just felt it click in after moving the front part of the slider back a touch. So hopefully this works. The good thing about soft close is you have like a bit of resistance at the beginning, so your drawers don't just slide out, even though I will be having locks on them as well. And then you give it a push. Hell yeah. 6 more to go. Let's keep going. Using everything I just learned in that first drawer, installing the slider, I have gone and done the second one. And now we hope that I have figured it out a little bit and it will actually work. Let's see if I'm actually getting the hang of it now. This is number 3. So now it is finally time to get the front panels on and make this thing look good. But there's one little problem that I have to solve quickly, and that is that my little secret drawer that's going to slide out the front leaves this really small little pocket here, which is only like maybe 10 centimeters deep, which isn't a lot of space. So you're probably thinking, why did you even bother cutting it out? And that is because I have an idea. I've kind of already prototyped it a little bit, but here we have a section of one of my packed bags that was one of the first samples that I've since cut up to rearrange it as I've kind of been designing. And I have put press studs on it, and I have press studs that drill into wood. And what we're gonna do is make a pocket that will be on the back of this, and then the panel will be on hinges. I'm kind of thinking of it as like a postie slot. So it'll hinge forward like that, and there will be plates behind it, and that just makes use of that wasted space. And another reason I did this is because when you have your plates, you typically have them on the bottom of a drawer with stuff stacked on top of them, and having to constantly slide your plates out from underneath stuff is kind of annoying. So this way the plates have their own little area, and these little press studs are actually really easy to use. All you have to do is pierce a little hole big enough. So I'm just using a really small screwdriver and then going through with a slightly bigger one, and that makes it perfect to pass through. Then you grab your cap, making sure you pass it through the right way. Then you have your little socket, which goes over the top and just presses on gently. You have this thing called a setting base, which you put the cap into, and then this little punching rod that you put on the top into the open part of the cap, and then you get a hammer and you just got to give it a tap. And then it just splits it open, and now you have a nice little press stud. And then on the wood side, you have the other side of it. Ow. So it's not perfect. I probably will get something properly made up in the future, but I'm on a time crunch here. This is going to be good enough for now. And the plates that I'm using is from my friends that I met in the Northern Territory salty dunes. They brought out these enamel ones, which I'm very keen on because I like nice camping plates. I hate eating off plastic ones, and these have that like at home feeling. Drop them in. Oops. All right, I'm gonna have to put another press stud at the bottom, but they do sit in there quite nice. Could put a bit of Velcro along the top. And now that I have that pocket all attached, the next step is kind of two steps into one. I've got my hinges, which are like these little plastic ones, but before I can do that, I need to install my latches, which are reused from my old ones. They're just a little spring that you clip, the bolt goes back, and then when you're like that, it will rest up against there, and you can tighten it by adding a bolt to the back, and you twist that, and then it will sit and hold it in nice and tightly. And the reason I'm doing it on this panel first is because I only have to cut the one sheet, whereas when you do the drawers, because I've got the dual front, means I'm going to have to cut this and then also cut it out of the front panel and then line it all up and insert them that way. So it's a bit of a mission. I just quickly marked up a spot for the latches, and I'm just drilling the holes out, and now I've got to figure out how I'm going to cut it out. That took me over 10 minutes just to cut one out, and I doubt that I've done it perfectly the first try, so I'm gonna have to do some trimming, I would assume. Always one more step. The board is too thick, so when the latch goes, the arm is now touching it, so I'm gonna have to file that down a lot. But at least now I have a template which I can trace onto each one. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to quickly get this first one installed. And once this door is installed, I'll show you what it looks like. And then I'm gonna pick up the pace because this video is going very overtime, I guess. So we've got some washers to use as spaces while we get the hinges in. And what I'm doing here is adding a like magnetic latch to help keep it in place when it's shut, and it'll have a bit of resistance, so clips in. I'm really happy with how that turned out, but that was just the tester. Now we're on to the more hard ones because I have to cut the front panel out. So what I'm gonna be doing for these is cutting like a V section out of the front, and it will kind of look cool having a V cut out for the front board. So I'm gonna do these one at a time, just in case I stuff the first one up. And the next thing you'll see is all 6 of them done. Front panel's on, number 2, done. So last night I put in a bit of hours and finally got all the panels cut for the latches and installed, so it is on there, but I think I should keep it until the end when it is all in the car, so you get like a nice little reveal to see what it's like. But now first I have to get onto the bench seat and the fridge install. It's going to start with me just cutting the side wall, hopefully fine, and make it meet up nicely with the flush mount kit for the dometic fridge. And then I'm gonna have to cut the top panel as well because I want that to sit over fridge and only lift up half of it. So that took a little bit of effort, but now I have the fridge part of the bench seat in, which has no hinge, and I can sit up here comfortably
Now I just need to get onto the second half, which is hinged. I need some little like bumps for it to rest on, attached to the water tank side.
So as you would have seen in the last time lapses, the bench seat is in there. So now it is time to get the kitchen plonked in there roughly so we can see how everything fits. But first I need to take all the drawers out. And this thing without the drawers is a bit heavy, but I can quite comfortably lift it by myself. I will try and weigh it without the drawers, and then I'll just be able to add the drawers on roughly. But I think I would not mind cutting out some of the mass in the drawers, whether that's with thinner ply or by hole sawing a bunch of holes in it or something. I'm not really sure how long everyone likes these videos to be. So if you are liking the longer video, let me know down below, because I can easily make these videos way longer. I'm normally chopping out. This one's been about 5 hours worth of footage. Normally they're about 3 hours worth of footage. So drop a comment down below, say longer is better, shorter is better, and that will give me a good indication. But since this has turned into being such a long video, I am going to end it once I get this all in here and you all get a good look. But I will not be finishing the 12 volt and the plumbing and stuff in this video. I'll make another episode next week. So this right here is my first time sliding this in, hoping there is enough leg room. All right, that is in. Does the tailgate close? Yep, plenty of space. Let's hop in, live reaction. All right, so first up, the height of the seat is good. You can squeeze in nice and easily. Get in and sit up. Oh yes. Oh. So I can fit my feet in lengthways with shoes on, which is good. Like it could do with maybe like a centimeter or two more space, but I am not complaining. Like this is perfect, exactly what I wanted. So I did forget one thing that kind of changes the spacing of the whole setup, and that is the Adventurer. So hopefully that slides in that gap, no worries, and it doesn't push the kitchen out that way too much. It fit in perfectly. It can go that way a little bit more, but it has to sit back a little bit in the kitchen because USB-C plugs, like the fast charging ones that I absolutely need, stick out just a touch. Now for the most controversial part of the build, which is the front section that I've been talking about the entire time I've been doing the build and saying that it's a secret. I know I'm a big advocate for affordable builds and like doing stuff yourself, and that these like 100 grand builds are kind of ridiculous, but this is going to be my one bit of ridiculous in my build. You know what, I'm going to put it there, then justify it later. So yes, you were seeing that right. It is a full-size coffee machine, and you're probably thinking, why would you buy that coffee machine for a camping fit out? And I didn't buy it for this. It is my coffee machine I use at home, and I love coffee, and so does my missus. Like when I'm away camping, waking up and making a proper coffee in the morning is like my favorite thing to do. You're just in the middle of nowhere, nothing around, and having a good coffee is like, once you do it, you will never go back to not having a good coffee machine when you're on the road. But because it is like 6 months at a time, we spend so much money on coffee if we don't have a good coffee machine. So the idea behind this is actually a bit of money saving, but also I do work a lot on the road, so I do really like having good coffee when I work. So think of it maybe as more of an extension of my office than of my camping setup, kind of. I don't really have any idea how to mount this thing. Thinking maybe like some bungee cords over it with like a string to pull tight. If you have any ideas, let me know down below. I know people mount them in caravans, but I'm not too sure what they use. I could probably even use some wing nut and just screw through this plastic base and then a strap over the back. Let me know. So I've still not really bolted anything down, and that is because I have to take it all out to properly wire up the inner drive and stuff. So for the end of this video, I thought I would do a quick tour and show you some of the things that have gone on. The fridge is now in there pretty good with the nice flush panel mounting system thing. And then over here to the drawer, there is meant to be a face panel that will sit on there. I just need to cut that. The chest. And then there will also be a cushion on top. I put the little infill panels on the end of this chest, which now actually opens, which has so much storage in there. I didn't want to cut anything there because it looked nice before, but I need to for the latches. And then we'll go inside. So there is actually a fair bit more legroom in here. I'm sitting on a bit of an angle, but if I was to sit back, you can see there is a good 20 centimeters in knee room. So I can even open a drawer and grab stuff out without having to move out of the way. But if I want the full clearance of a drawer, I can pull it out like that. There's only like 10 centimeters left in there, which is not much at all. And then this isn't the actual bench top. It's just one from my old setup that I have laying around. But this is our new induction cooktop that we're going to be using, dometic one, which is the one that you'll normally have in like caravans and stuff. So I'm not too sure whether we're going to mount that here or back towards this side. I'm leaning towards this side because I can, if we're cooking and something stinky we can pull this down a little bit and still have it simmering there, and then have all the windows open up here and it'll air it out a bit better. But yeah, this is the setup for now. It's pretty comfortable. We just have to finish a lot of stuff off before I can actually hard mount this, and that will be the next video. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know if you're liking the longer episodes. And if you like this video, you'll probably like this one here where we build the canopy camper.